Hey guys, and welcome back to Unified Gaming. Now if this is your first time here, and you enjoy watching ESO gameplay, seeing new builds, or just want to get better at ESO itself, then start by subscribing now and clicking the bell so you don't miss anything. Welcome to Nature's Guardian. This is a PVP tank by Glyco who's on the Xbox EU server. This is a phenomenal tank build. It's got insane resistances, great regen and a decent health pool, but what makes this really special is the fact that it doubles up as an off healer, giving you loads of off heals to your team, keeping them alive as well as you alive. It's really one of a kind tank build. Now this is made for the Dragonhold patch, and this is definitely worth checking out, so I'd encourage you to watch the whole video, and if you want to see more footage of this build in action, check out Glyco's channel, there's a link in the description. He also has a few other builds and loads of gameplay from other classes coming up. Now for our race, we are a Nord. A Nord is probably the best race choice for this kind of playstyle. If you are not a Nord, you could go with something like an Imperial or an Argonian. Other than that, any other race can be made to work. You'll just need to make sure that all your attributes are in the right place and you pick up resistances in other ways. Now for the skills, we are using Stalwart Guard. This gives the person we guard minor falls and ourselves, increasing our crit damage by 10%. We then have Shimmering Shield. This makes us immune to ranged attacks pretty much, and it gives us crazy ult gen, so definitely worth having this on. We then use Polar Wind. This heals us and it heals people nearby us, and it's based on your max health. So the more health you have, the more you heal people, which is just great, especially for a tank. You could use Arctic Blast if you prefer and have an AoE stun, a bit like the old Permafrost if you're familiar with that. We then have Ice Fortress. This is our armor buff. It also gives us minor protection, so it just makes us really tanky. And then we have Blue Betty, which gives us Magicka back for free. It is a purge, removing one effect on cast every 5 seconds, and it gives us a mini heal on cast due to the passives. So it's definitely worth spamming this as you run around if you don't have any sort of other skills that you need to cast. Then for the ultimate, we use Enchanted Forest. This is like a big burst heal for anybody inside it, and it also gives you a bit of ultimate back, meaning you can pump them out quicker. As for the back bar, we are using Stalwart Guard again because you have to double bar this. We then have Nature's Embrace. This is the little vine pole. It's basically Vigor for 10 seconds on you and an ally, so it's really good, and it gives you ultimate as well, so you can't really go wrong with this. We then have Invigorating Drain. This is a stun and it gives us stupid ult gen as well as healing back. The heal is based on your max health and it's based on how much health you're missing, so if you're low health and cast this, you'll get really strong heals back and you stun the target. We then have Living Trellis, and as we get hit we then heal from that, and after the 10-second timer it then gives us a burst heal. You can spam cast this for mini burst heals if you want, and you can cast this on other people too, so it's a really good skill. And on top of that it also procs the Nature's Gift passive, meaning we get 250 Magicka or stamina back every time we heal somebody else. That includes ourselves, so it's a really strong skill. And then for the final skill we have Mist Form. This is our mobility skill. You could change this for race against time if you don't want to be a vampire, but I would recommend being a vampire in all honesty, as you can see in the footage. It's really strong. And then for our ultimate we have the Restoration Ultimate, Life Giver. This casts all of the restoration skills, and this is your main ult you want to be focusing on, as this will just give more utility for the entire group. That said though, if you are on your back bar and you need to cast ult, just cast it. It's better to cast it and be alive than try and swatch bar and die. As for our monster set, we are running Bloodspawn. Bloodspawn is probably the best monster set you can run this patch. It gives us crazy ult gen, insane armor and its stam recovery as well. It's exactly what we need on a tank. Now you want to have a medium piece and a light piece just for simplicity. This will allow us to access our Undaunted passives, giving us extra health, Magicka and stamina. If you don't have Undaunted yet, just run extra heavy pieces here and have 7 heavy armor. Our second set is Necropotence. This is arguably the best set on Magicka Warden or on a tank if you want to have a bigger mag pool, as the Betty procs it. Because we have a larger mag pool we get bigger heals. We run jewelry and weapons for this, and you want to have infused jewelry with Magicka recovery, so that way you can just spam your heals and stay alive. As for the weapons, you want to have defending on the weapons, and you want impenetrable on the shield. We have a restoration staff, and we also have a sword and shield. The sword can be a axe, sword, dagger or mace. It doesn't matter what it is as long as it's a one-handed, so buy what's cheapest. Now our final set is Mark of the Pariah. This is a great set. It gives us extra resistances as we get low, up to 10,000, which is just absolutely bonkers, so it's definitely worth having this. Now this is better than Fortified Brass by quite a margin, it's better than Swift, it's arguably the best defensive set in the game. And I know that some of you are thinking, why do we need this if we have 50,000 resistance nearly? The reality is most people are rocking 15 to 20,000 penetration now. So they bring you below the armor cap anyway. So that's why we need this extra resistance, which means we are incredibly tanky and hard to kill. And you'll also note that the 50,000 is kind of when we're almost dead. So just do take that into account, okay? Now for our Mundus stone, there's a bit of flexibility with this, so you can kind of move it around as you see fit. Sometimes the action knock is better if you need more sustain to pump heals out. Sometimes you want a bit more health, so the Lord is great. Or you want a bit more resistance, so you can use the Lady. All in all, it's kind of up to you. You could even go with the Ritual just to get some more healing for you and your teammates, because you obviously can heal them. So I would honestly treat the Mundus as a kind of flex spot and play the build and adapt to what you need. All in all though, I'd probably go with the Lord and have extra health just to mean our heals are a bit bigger. As for the food guys, we are using tri-stat food. The longfin pastry is a really good one, or the venison pot roast. You could go with gold food if you really want. The bewitched sugar skulls, they are really expensive though, and it's not really worth the money, but that is an option if you want to really push this even further. As for the potions, we use either immovable potions or you can use tri-stat potions. Both of those are really good, so just use what you feel more comfortable with there. Now lots of people go, should we be a vampire, werewolf, or just stay as a human, as a mortal? For this kind of build and playstyle, obviously we are a vampire, and vampire is best for this kind of playstyle. It gives us extra ult gen through obviously Invigorate and Drain, it gives us Misform, so that gets us around corners and stuff, travel around, and it's just a good OMO button. And on top of that we get Undeath, which makes us really tanky to kill when we're low health, and that just synergizes so well with Mark of the Pariah, meaning as we get low and further into execute range, we get tankier and tankier and tankier, and people get more and more frustrated because they can't hit us with hard executes. So definitely go vampire if you are happy with the kind of extra fire damage and Dawnbreaker damage. As for the CP guys, just pause it where you see fit. Obviously this build is designed mainly for CP, it can work in things like Battleground. It's a little bit harder to play it because obviously CP makes you so much bulkier anyway, but it is definitely viable in there. Now for tips and tricks on this guys, a few things that I'd recommend. Make sure that you are running guard if you're in a duo or a group. If you are not with anybody else, just drop it and run skills that you think would be beneficial to you. Things like combat prayer is quite a good one for sort of just random people that you see. Alternatively, you could use some of the warden skills like corrupt and pollen, that's a great group skill. So it's kind of up to you there. As for staying alive on this build, that's kind of its main job, it's really easy. You have Shimmering Shield, which means you're immune to range attacks, so if you get attacked by Magicka sorcerers or Magicka nightblades for example, or just even stam users using bows, just keep that up and you won't really take any damage. You can spam cast it if needed. You then have Living Trellis, this heals you as you take damage, so you can put this on and then Shimmering Shield, and you'll pretty much heal as you're taking damage, which is just stupid. You then have Polar Wind, that is a good sort of oh-no heal. It's a really big heal and it gives you a heal over time afterwards. So when you're about 50% health, that's kind of when you want to consider starting to cast this to get you up to about 70% health. You'd never want to go to 100% health because you get less armor. You want to float between 70 and 50% health in all honesty. Obviously keep your armor buff on, that's just a given. As for kind of Nature's Embrace and the Vampire Drain, Nature's Embrace is used to get around, it's your mobility skill, a bit like Misform, so if you're being focused and you're kind of holding the group where you are, you can then latch onto your teammate who's kind of left the area by that point and then get really far away. Misform serves the same job, allowing you to kind of just move around towers and keeps really easily, getting out of the fight if you need to, or just turning a corner and getting a cheeky heal off. You also have Invigorating Drain, so when you're in combat it's your main active ability, allowing you to go up to somebody, stun them and generate ult gen. You want to obviously keep the stun going for as long as possible, and you also want to light attack just before to get the passive ultimate generation from the light attack, as well as the ultimate generation from the skill itself. Now obviously if things do go south, that's when you use your ultimates. In all honesty the Restoration Staff ultimate is better, but the Tree ultimate is really good for kind of just being dirt cheap, because you can kind of chuck it out, get 20 ult back, and then chuck it out again. So it's a really good way to kind of get this ultimate back quick, so it's a good burst heal. The Restoration Staff ult is more of a sort of heal over time. The Tree ult is more of a burst ult, so those are your options there. But that's kind of the main sort of playstyle for this really, is just keep your buffs on, move around, and don't sit in one spot. If you sit in one spot you will die, that's just inevitable. If you move around in one spot and move around things like trees and rocks or just the little wall things inside the keep, you'll be absolutely fine on this. If you haven't done so already, make sure that you subscribe by clicking the bottom right of the screen. And if you do enjoy this video, then obviously leave a like and a comment. And with that said guys, we are going to wrap this video up here, so I hope you found it helpful. If you have any questions, obviously post them in the comments. I will comment or like or comment if he gets a chance, and I would recommend checking out his channel. He is a phenomenal PvP tank. I've played on Xbox with him, he's one of the best PvP tanks that I've played with, and that's on both PC and on Xbox, so definitely give him a look. And with that said guys, I'm going to catch you in the next one. So thanks for watching, and take care. Bye.